Noah.
I'm Devin.
I'm Rachel.
And this is No Such Thing, the show where we settle our dumb arguments and yours by actually doing the research. This week, why do I only have one option for internet? And it's a bad one.
Then they pull out their little iPad and say, yeah, we don't offer the service, but glad to know you're interested.
Yeah.
You just wasted both of our time.
There's no such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing.
Okay, we are back this week. In lieu of Manny, we are joined by Rachel Askenazi, journalist and founder of Throwing Spaghetti Media. Hi, Rachel. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Friend of the pod.
Thank you.
Friend of the pod, always.
Yeah, that's your title. Do you have internet?
I do have internet.
Okay. And do you like your ISP?
Not particularly.
Okay, why not?
I don't. I feel like it is constantly crapping out. It doesn't reach some of the rooms in my apartment.
Oh, I
Yes.
love that.
And they're like, oh, can't go through the wall. Like, why? Why can it not go through the walls?
That's an issue because my apartment has walls.
Yes, exactly.
Devin, do you have internet?
Yeah, of course I have internet.
Okay.
You
And
know?
how is that for you?
I'm old school, so not only do I have internet, I also have cable.
Okay. All in one.
I got the bundle.
The bundle.
I'm an old head.
Yeah.
I like watching my sports, my Mets, and I don't want to have to figure out how to do that on the internet. So yeah, I have both. I had Optimum for a while. It was pretty terrible, but it was my only option for most of the time I was at my apartment. So I would call them and complain, and they would say, basically, well, what the hell are you going to do? Because you can't get anything else.
Yeah.
And I would be like, you're right. But I'm still upset.
It's all pity. Yeah.
It's not working. It's similar issues. There's like, signal issues. There'll be times where it's just down for no reason, not even weather related. Over the last couple of years, I've had Verizon Fios, which started out really strong. When I first got it, I was like, whoa, this is so much better. It's fiber or whatever they're saying. And it was in the beginning. Lately, it's been not as great. But I don't want to switch back to Optimum, so I'm kind of stuck.
It's rough.
I also have internet. And
My name's Noah, and I have internet.
Yeah. But sometimes I don't, unfortunately, when I want, I'm paying for it. And this is my issue. And
as someone who has to video call for you,
you
love to drop out.
It's been much worse lately, I'll say.
It's been a bit bad.
Welcome to This call may be recorded. How can I help you today?
My internet is out.
One moment, please.
So
And
I'm
they-
dropping out on calls. It's
They
horrible.
won't give you the day back. Good luck.
No.
Good luck trying to call, get your money.
No.
Yeah, so that's what I've tried to do. I run speed tests with this company. I'll run them. I'll take screenshots every 10 minutes or something just so I have a document, because I've called in the past. They say, okay, we can't do anything. I'll be like, oh, it's been bad since Tuesday. I'm calling on a Friday. So they're like, well, we can't do anything because we didn't run the test then. So they don't believe me, even though they must know. And then it's like you're saying, they know I don't have another option.
Nope.
So the best I've got, like after begging for, spending basically my whole day on the phone with them, they'll give me like $5 back.
Right.
And I'm paying, over $100 for this. I've upgraded my service, so I'm getting 1 gig just to hope that I can even get half of what they're offering. Because that's kind of been my problem. I'm saying like, okay, I'm paying for 500 megabytes. I'm not getting even close to that. And the upload speeds are even worse, which is, to pull the curtain back. Aside from No Such Thing, I also edit podcasts and videos for other people
Gasp.
who pay me. And if I can't, upload a video, it can be a problem. I'm on the phone with someone saying, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job and I'm going to have to move. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I'm not going to be able to pay you anymore.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. I'm hoping just like, and they're like, first of all, my wife was the account holder. They're like, who are you talking to? I say, the account is Julia. They're like, sir, this is not Julia.
Whoa.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. I was like, you don't know who you're on the phone with.
You
first
don't
of
know.
all.
Julia can have a
Also,
Noah
like,
voice.
why would I be calling? I don't know what I would even be doing if I wasn't suffering.
What scam
from
is this?
Yeah, like I'm doing this to upgrade someone else's internet. But yeah, once I had to basically restart the whole process because they didn't believe that I was my wife, which is, it's true.
You are not
They
your
were
wife.
right that I'm not my wife.
But they don't
But
know
they
that.
shouldn't have known that. What's wild is that's like my smallest issue with this ISP, my internet service provider. But what's most frustrating is sometimes I've had people from competing ones come to my door, knock on my door and say, hey, are you interested in this? I go, I mean, yeah, potentially, but can you do it? And then they're like, oh, we actually don't offer this here.
I've had this
That's
too.
And I
the
don't know if
issue.
they're asking to get interest, so then maybe they can push for
I
it to
thought
be
about
installed.
that today too.
You would think the people, because I've had this too, they come to your door.
Yeah.
They say, hey, do you want, they were doing this with me with
You
Verizon
guys
before
you're having
Verizon
people
was
come
in my
to your
area.
actual door?
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
never had that.
They're
Literally
in the
showed
building,
up. I
knocking
don't even
on
know
the
how you got
doors.
up here. I was fifth floor walk up.
Yeah, that's actually very
Okay.
impressive. Yeah.
Who let you in?
First of all, yeah.
But then you come and they're up here and they're talking about, hey, yeah, have you thought about switching? I said, yeah, I've thought about it. But last I checked, you guys don't offer the service.
I think about it all the time.
Then they pull
yeah.
out their little iPad and say, yeah, we don't offer the service, but glad to know you're interested.
Yeah.
You just wasted both of our time.
That's like you could have looked that up.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Yeah. How don't you know this?
Yeah.
You're walking around here for the company and you don't know that you can't service me?
I want to know if, these ISPs count as where, in my neighborhood, say Crown Heights, Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
I only have one option. Why is
Yeah.
that not a monopoly?
Sounds like a monopoly to me.
Yeah. So after the break, we're going to talk to someone who hopefully can answer some of these questions for us. And maybe I'll be better equipped to find a new internet provider without moving.
Here's hoping.
All right, we're back. I'm Noah.
Devin.
Rachel.
We're talking about ISPs, aka internet service providers, and why I only have the option of one. To try to answer some of these questions and hopefully maybe work towards solutions, we're going to talk to Emily Stewart, senior correspondent at Business Insider. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
Welcome
Thank
to the
you for
podcast.
having me.
Well, introduce yourself a little bit and some of the reporting you've done.
Yeah. So I'm a reporter at Business Insider. What is my beat? Who knows? What do I cover? I write about consumerism, write about the economy. I do sometimes write about scams, but more like the scam that is capitalism,
The big scam.
which is like where the ISP stuff comes in. Like candidly, a few years ago, I was very mad at my internet company. And I was like, well, this is stupid. Like, how in the world is this happening? I live in like one of the biggest cities in the world.
That's the thing. We're in New York.
And like,
Exactly.
this can't be this difficult. And like, that is the scam. That is the world that we live in. That isn't like somebody calling your grandma and telling her you're kidnapped. It's like, you're talking to a giant company being like, why is my service always worse? And it's somehow constantly more expensive. And yet here we are, and you know that I am trapped.
Exactly. So, Emily, can we first start? How are internet service providers set up in the U.S.? How are they made?
I mean, like, as much as like we think of the internet now as like Wi-Fi, right? Like, it's actually physical infrastructure and cables. And I think like that's like, I am not an internet how it works expert, but I think sometimes like people forget there's kind of like a backbone of like fiber optic cables that go like across the country, and then you get into like regional providers, and then you get into the more local providers. Usually I think when we think about what's wrong with the internet and who we're dealing with, what we kind of are talking about is like the last mile, which is whatever cable that's connected to your door. And so that's kind of, I think, what the issue is. But it works, like cable companies in the 90s. Like I grew up in rural Wisconsin, and my dad used to like chase down the cable guy being like, when are you coming so that I can have cable? And if you think about the names and like the companies, you have your cable company and your internet company are the same company, right? Like if I want cable, which do I want that nowadays? I don't know. Some people do. They're probably my internet company too, and even my phone company.
Yeah.
We just already had the cable lines and we kind of added it.
I mean,
quote,
we've
unquote,
had
to
the
that.
cable lines, but it is like, it's an ongoing project. Like I remember starting this like 5 years ago, and it was like 1 in 5 New Yorkers doesn't have internet. Like that's not the case anymore. Like I was talking to somebody who works for the city this morning, and I was like, does everybody have the internet now?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, like, yes, but some of them can't afford it and some of them don't want it. But like, I think a lot of the issue is this is like a big infrastructure project when you think about it. Like you have to dig up streets, you have poles, like you have all of these things. And so I think kind of the story of the internet, not only in New York, but everywhere, is like once you've dug up the street and you've put in the cables, nobody wants to go behind you to do that again. So like a competitor's not going to come in. And also you spent all of this time and money putting in these cables. Like you're not eager to be like, hey, I'm Optimum, like AT&T, do you guys want in on this too? Like nobody's doing that. And so I think that's the issue. And like, this is kind of like a rural urban problem. Like I think sometimes like we hear a lot about rural broadband, which I know is not really like what we're talking about here, but like they are like different types of issues. In rural, I don't know, like Idaho, they don't necessarily have broadband because it's not lucrative for like a big company to like send out the internet out there, right? And in like urban areas, it's like a little bit of a different story. I mean, some of it's just like the monopoly problem and some of it's the expense problem. And that's really like everywhere. Like average internet bills are like $60, $70, $80 like across the country. And you only have access to the internet if you have $70 to spend, and not everybody has $70 to spend.
In a situation that we're all in separately, did Optimum just say like, hey, we're going to take this area? How did that land grab happen? Do you know?
I mean, a lot of it is like, a city will say, or a municipality, whatever, will say, we need internet here. And so like, you make a deal with a company and you say, all right, we're going to let you come in and like maybe we'll give you some subsidies, maybe we won't. Or maybe like you'll promise up in order to like wire up our city or our area, you will give us like a public access TV channel, like whatever it would be. And there's a lot of it's cable too.
Yeah.
And so now you like wind up in a situation where there's just all of these like natural monopolies, basically. Like I said before, like it kind of makes sense to some extent. Like if you built out the whole thing, like you're not going to be super eager to let somebody else do it. It's also a little bit complicated because a lot of states also have laws that saying like certain municipalities can't do their own broadband. And so like we've really kind of let the companies take over, and companies don't want to compete, right? Like they want to make as much money as they can for as many people as they can and deal with as few competitors as possible. And so like we wind up with this situation where like, maybe this has happened for a reason, but also like, is this ideal when you are calling your internet provider and like begging for a discount?
So I asked how internet service compares to public utilities like electricity, gas, or water. Emily said the stronger comparison is to the mail, meaning we don't think about the postal service as a utility, but if it was completely privatized, the reality is many areas, like, say, rural Montana, simply wouldn't have the mail because it wouldn't make financial sense for the providers. But access to the internet, even though most people do need it, in some capacity at least, is held in the hands of private companies.
So does it mean, in a practical sense, let's say electricity or water, right? Like, so like New York State is building the infrastructure, for the most part for those things. And then if you're building a building, obviously you're, building the pipes within your building. But is the idea that like, because those are public utilities, the city is investing in creating those lines or whatever, versus like the internet is more relying on, hey, Comcast, if you're Optimum, if you're going to come in here, you are going to build out the infrastructure because that's not our responsibility.
Right. And like maybe we will give you some subsidies or like make some special agreements with you.
Yeah.
But like
to incentivize you to do it.
Right. You, but like, hey, also if we give you a bunch of money to like build out these lines and like, oh, you guys had other expensive, you use them, like there you go. And that's kind of, I think, been the story like across kind of the internet being built out is like, companies are making deals with cities, with states, with governments, and like, a company's incentives are just different than like
it's basically purely a market thing where it's like we know tons of people live here and need internet, so we'll provide for them. It's not like we all agree, everyone agrees people need water. So let's get the water there. It's like most people want internet and people will buy it, but it's not a necessity in the same way yet, or as we see it.
Yeah, I think as we see it is probably the key, because I think it's like now become almost as much of a necessity to live, to work, to pay bills, to literally do so many things.
Schooling.
That even somebody who's disconnected theoretically banking or something. Like there's so many things you do need it for that it's like, at what point are we going to realize that it is actually a necessity? The same way electricity wasn't always a necessity.
Yeah, true.
Then it became one.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you think back to the pandemic, even like those pictures of kids sitting outside of a McDonald's to do schoolwork, those were kids that didn't have internet at home.
After the break, am I fighting a monopoly? Can you first define, and we've thrown it around a little bit, can you define a monopoly? And then I want to see if this is one.
I mean, monopoly is basically like a company where it's the only game in town. And like in town, I mean like a specific market, not in the world. I mean, you think about it in a lot of different ways. Like a lot of people would say like Amazon is a monopoly, right? Like in terms of just e-commerce and like it, as much as like maybe Walmart's a competitor. Like, is it? I don't know. Or like De Beers, the diamond company, for a long time was a monopoly. Sometimes when I think about monopolies, I also think about, this sounds boring, but like oligopolies, which is sometimes, and I think it's a lot more common across our economy, it's like a handful of companies really like control the show. If you think about like airlines, right? It's like what? American, Delta, United, and then a couple of smaller players, phones, T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon. And T-Mobile actually merged with Sprint like a couple of years ago, saying like, we have to be bigger so that we can compete with these even bigger guys. And like, come on. I am a little bit of a monopoly nut. Like I try not to be like too bad, but like it is one of those things when you start to see it, you really see it everywhere. When you realize that like what you think is like your cute little craft beer is made is owned at least by Anheuser-Busch.
So crazy.
It really is like, oh man, like there's no such thing as small business.
Right.
anymore.
Yeah. You're just seeing a different label or logo or something. Yeah. Do you think monopolies are bad and why? Or what are the issues?
I mean, yes.
From this?
In an ideal, like healthy economy, we want competition, right? And the big problem with a monopoly or an oligopoly is when companies don't have to compete, when they have so much power, consumers lose out, workers lose out, et cetera. The way that we kind of deal with monopolies and like antitrust policy right now is very much the consumer standard. It's like, is the consumer spending more money? And if they are, then that is bad. If two drug companies sell insulin and they're increasing prices like in tandem, bad, right? I think also though, like sometimes we don't think about the other consequences of monopolies, like it's also bad for labor, right? It's bad for wages. If you have a ton of power and workers can only work at one company, like there you go. Or like suppliers, like if you want to sell at Walmart, you have to do what Walmart says. Same thing with Amazon. Like I've done a lot of reporting, like talking to small businesses. Most of them will say like, with Amazon, it's like a real trade-off. Like, I have to be there because otherwise I will not reach people. Also, like, I have to deal with, exactly their terms in terms of how much of a cut they take, in terms of their return policies. You want there to be more options. And I think, like, that's where, like, we see, like, the fewer options there are, that kind of just shows up in ways that are bad economically, but even culturally. Like, you want to feel like, oh, like, a small business can make it, or, like, there is some level of variety in the world.
Can you tell the story about the diaper company, about them and Amazon? Because I feel like this comes up time and time again of like Amazon wanting to get into a space and then just lowering the prices and then like basically buying out the company.
Yeah. So basically, I think it was like 2010. Amazon sees this diaper company, Quizd, and was like, hey, like we would like to buy you. Like, looks like you guys are doing good work. And like the company's like, no, we can like do this on our own. We'll grow on our own. And then Amazon like turns around and launches basically its own version of this diaper service. And it like kills the company and they ultimately have to agree to be sold to Amazon.
Let's check in on some of today's top corporate news. According to two people with knowledge of the matter, Amazon near an agreement to buy Quidsi. This is the owner of Diapers.com and Soap.com for $540 million. Amazon found an unlikely competitor in the company, which in its early days simply brought, the place of diapers to Costco and shipped them to customers. Quidsi plans to ship 500 million diapers this year, expects sales on the whole to increase 67% to $300 million. An agreement may come as soon as today.
And I think that's where Amazon is a tricky one. They will say we're absolutely not a monopoly. Look at how we keep prices low. And sure, but also nobody can compete with Amazon. You have to be on there. And they also say they're keeping prices low, which sure, probably. But also there is a world where I think at least a reasonable person could say if there were more Amazons, would prices be even lower? Because you can undercut the diaper company. Once the diaper company's dead, then you can charge, whatever you want, basically.
I feel like the prices on Amazon aren't even that low anymore. When it first became a thing, it was oh my God, you're paying nothing for all of these products. And now it's the same price, if not maybe a little more than me going downstairs to the convenience store and figuring that out.
Yep.
Following that, can we kind of broaden out on U.S. antitrust policy? Can you give us in broad strokes maybe how attitudes have changed as far as the government's role in it over the past century?
Yeah, I think antitrust policy dates back to 1800s, 1900s, it's Clayton Act, the Sherman Act. And there are certain things around if two companies are merging, is that anti-competitive? Does that mean there will be less competition, that they will be bad? The big story, at least in modern day, is kind of what's happened since the 70s and 80s. Antitrust policy became much more market focused, kind of the market will take care of itself. And basically the idea is if I'm an entrepreneur and I have a really good idea and my company gets really big, other people will look around and be I should do that too. And then they will come in and they will create businesses and they will kind of compete with me and therefore push my prices down. And that's kind of been the theory of the case. We can look at the result over the past 40 years and say, how has this worked? And we have 4 airlines, 3 big beer companies. What these companies will say is 3 of us is enough. But is it? I don't know. And then you see, under the Biden administration, you have Lena Khan come into the FTC, and she's pretty aggressive, doing big cases and, trying to, enforce these antitrust laws. And she has a different kind of theory of the case.
The idea is that if a company is being abusive towards its customers, those customers can go elsewhere. But if you see a persistent pattern of a company raising prices, degrading service, making it impossible to actually get somebody on the phone, all these big and small ways that the consumer experience is worse, and you don't see defections. Similarly, you can see the same thing on the worker side. That can be direct evidence of monopoly power, that companies are at a stage where they can make things worse without losing out in the market.
And even the Trump administration is keeping some of these cases around against Meta, against Google. But I think, we also have to realize the courts have a role in this as well. Just because the DOJ sues and says, Meta, you shouldn't have been able to have Instagram and WhatsApp, doesn't mean that a judge is going to agree.
So then from here in Brooklyn, and I can only have one option for internet, does that qualify as a monopoly in your eyes and then in the eyes of the law?
I think so. I don't think it's a monopoly that the FTC or Tish James, the AG of New York, could come after and be
Yeah.
But I think that in general, yes, I will say on the internet, I, as a person who also has one option, it is getting better to some extent with wireless and 5G, basically. Yeah. Is that an exact competitor? I don't know.
Hey, neighbor, you switched to T-Mobile home internet yet? It runs on T-Mobile's wireless 5G network. So all you gotta do is plug in one cord. T-Mobile 5G home internet.
But so this idea of 5G is that, hey, you don't need to get internet installed in your home with a router and the Wi-Fi because we're going to use basically the same way you get internet on your phone.
Yeah, it's essentially hotspotting.
Yeah, you can get the same internet process, for your computer through that same, is that the thinking?
Yeah, that's the thinking. And I feel T-Mobile is constantly don't you want to come over here? And it's I know, but is that good?
Yeah.
And is it as good? And I think that's the question. But I do think you can look at the situation here, in your own little neighborhood and say, this is a monopoly, and maybe it's not exactly Optimum's fault or whoever's fault that they're doing this, but they're enjoying this situation and you are not.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to accept that the internet is a monopoly.
Yeah.
How is the U.S. approach to antitrust? How does that differ from like Europe and in Asia and other areas around the world? Do you know?
Europe in general has just been more aggressive on corporate power. I read a book by this economist named Thomas Philippon, and he talked about in France with the internet specifically, what they did was put in a regulation that required internet companies to lease out like that last mile I was talking about of their wires, like the little bit, and that would let competitors come in. And that did bring down internet prices because that way I can be like, hey, let me in a little bit on the game, and then I can do a little bit less. Like maybe that will be better. Something similar is kind of happening in the US right now with phone companies. You maybe know like Mint Mobile, right? Like the Ryan Reynolds thing.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Did you know that Mint's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back?
And that is like basically the big phone companies like AT&T, whatever, have extra space or whatever, and they will let other players get in and offer a cheaper option. And so that's something like Mint Mobile.
The bigger company in this instance, they just don't want to spend the time or resources to use that last mile.
Well, and also
or they have
it's
to
a marketing.
do something.
I mean, like on like the phone thing, it's a marketing thing, right? Like, I don't know how many people like are like, I saw Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
But like it does allow them to like get into like more niche markets. And as like, as much as these companies, they are very big, there are markets that they want to get into. And like, if that's a way to get in, like, sure.
So then say in France or somewhere else, do they tend to have less of these issues as far as people not having choice for internet? Do you know?
I mean, at least it's cheaper. And
it's cheaper.
Yes, it's cheaper, but also like you'll have like more options.
Yeah.
And that's ideal. Like it's not saying like, oh, these companies can't exist anymore. It's like you should like play by like fair rules of the game. And like a lot of these companies we know have like a lot of ways of keeping competitors out. So that's how we kind of wind up where we are.
Policy-wise, if, they give you a big pen tomorrow and you get to write up some policy for the United States.
A big, beautiful bill.
Yeah. Well, to fix the internet issue for me.
for Noah specifically?
Yeah. What would you, I mean, like, what are the sorts of policies that you think would help then? Like, do you think it would be more of these kind of last mile things or what?
A few years ago, I did a little bit of reporting on like Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I think they're like kind of a good example of what you can do that's actually like kind of small. And like this is one where like maybe the answer is like, yes, we make like the internet a public utility. But like, basically what they did is they had like, their electric grid or whatever. And they were like, we're going to use this to create like a public internet that's like pretty cheap for people, like $10 a month or whatever.
Chattanooga's will now be the first to have a community-wide fiber optic network delivering up to 10 gigabits of internet service. It's the first of its kind in the U.S. It will be offered to every home and business in a 600-mile area. A study recently released by UTC finance professor Bento Lobo shows the gig network helped the Chattanooga area generate at least 2,800 new jobs and close to $900 million.
And they did it. And they really had some like pushback, like one of the big telecom companies like sued them. And they did wind up with like some limits. Like they weren't allowed to do this like outside of the city limits.
Okay.
But I think like that's something that could really work as like, a town doing this. Now, I think the problem there is like something like 20 states have laws like saying that municipalities can't do this. That is the power of lobbying. So I think, that's a tricky one. Rural broadband is a very popular thing to say politically, and there have been a lot of efforts at that. The tricky part there is sometimes these companies like get these subsidies, they get these plans, and like, does that mean they are building out necessarily? No, so that kind of stuff. It's something that like really has to be taken care of at every level. Like it feels to me like if we could just have these companies have to lease out at least some of their stuff, like that would help a lot. Like, and I'm not asking for 8 internet providers, but I feel like if I just had 2, like I would have
more than one would be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
I would just like I could call and be like, I'm gonna leave, and they wouldn't be able to say like, no, you're not.
That's all I want to. Because even if they offered me the $10 horrible internet option, I wouldn't use it, but I would be happy that it's there. It's all it'd make me feel slightly better. All right, so I guess for now, the best thing we can do is call and hope whoever's on the other side takes some pity. And then maybe I'll be writing to the mayor about this last mile infrastructure. Who should I talk to about this?
Who in government is anyone advocating, in economy?
Yeah, so we know the lobbies are part of why this is an issue. Are there any lobbies for me?
I mean, there is some action in New York on at least helping for paying. I think at the state level, there's some stuff going on. It's hard. I mean, if only because we have in New York, we have a giant budget shortfall right now, right? And as much as I wish that Zoran's number one was I need BIOS to also come to Flatbush. It is not happening right now. So I think I do, and maybe this is because my dad was like this, I really do check to see if I have other options pretty regularly. I've a couple of months ago, I saw a Verizon truck outside, and I was do I go ask him? Are you gonna come?
I need to do that.
It's the building next door. They take it, but yours doesn't.
Right.
Or the apartment upstairs will take
That's
it, but yours
unbelievable.
isn't.
But otherwise I think just call and I don't know, should you be nice? Should you threaten to leave?
I start off nice.
Yeah, try and get the other person's vibe, and maybe they're having a good day, and then you can have a year of a discount before it's bad again.
And I did make my wife add me as an authorized user of the account, so I don't need to hide my identity anymore.
You don't need to change your voice.
I don't need to be vague when I'm saying hey, I'm Julia. The account is Julia. Yes, I'm calling.
On behalf of...
Yeah. Well, thank you, Emily. This was great. I can't say I feel better about the situation, but at least I know something more.
I'm sorry.
I won't take it out on you.
I feel
validated
that we're not doing something so simple and easy.
That's true.
It does just suck.
It does make me feel better. Maybe I'll move to Chattanooga.
Yeah, maybe that's the
explore
answer.
Stuff over there.
I mean, it's probably nice there.
Yeah, I'll get some space. So this conversation was very informative, validating, and pretty disappointing as far as the state of my internet situation. And then, guess what happened while I was editing this episode together? My internet went out. So I did what I've done many times before and called up my ISP.
Welcome to This call may be recorded. How can I help you today?
My internet is kind of going in and out today, and I want to make sure it's fixed, and I would love to get a... any sort of reimbursement, because now I have to redo a bunch of work, and I'm worried, I won't be able to get my work done today. Might lose my job.
I was extremely frustrated. I've done this song and dance dozens of times and received pretty much nothing in return.
I just would like to tell you I'm very sorry about what happened. I know it must be very frustrating for you.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I'm gonna do my best to help you as much as I can.
But this time was different.
I'm gonna apply you a credit, and it's gonna be the same amount of credit for 5 years. Your bill is gonna be $102 for the same internet speed you have right now.
Okay.
Alrighty. I submitted the order for you, and everything is good to go. Is there anything else would you like me to assist you with?
No, that's all. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. It was a pleasure to speak with you today. May God bless you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
So maybe a competitor is moving into my neighborhood? Is 5G wireless or Ryan Reynolds taking over? I'm not quite sure. But to the benevolent customer service king on the other side of the line this time, No Such Thing Nation salutes you. Thank you for your service. No Such Thing is a production of Kaleidoscope Content. Our executive producers are Kate Osborne and Mangesh Hattikudur. The show was created by Manny Fidel, Noah Friedman, and Devin Joseph. Theme and credit song by Manny Fidel. Our guests this week are Emily Stewart and fill-in co-host Rachel Askenazi. Visit nosuchthing.show to subscribe to our newsletter for related links and more. If you have feedback for us or a question, our email is mannynoahdevin@gmail.com. You can also leave us a voicemail by calling the number in our show notes. And while I have you, please leave us a 5-star rating and leave a nice review. It really helps a lot. And we'll be back next week with a new episode. Thanks.
No. such thing.